Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Shut Up and Read. Today I'll be discussing the top 5 books that I read during the spring. So those are months March, April, and May. So anyways, let's just get right into it. So the first book that I want to discuss today is The Queen's Rising by Rebecca Ross. So this book is about a girl called Brianna who has spent the last 7 years trying to figure out her passion. And there are 5 different passions in her kingdom. There's art, music, wit, knowledge, as well as dramatics. So for the past 7 years, she has been trying to figure out her passion, and it all leads up to this solstice. And the purpose of the solstice is for her to find her own patron. However, things happen and she did not get a patron. And somehow months later, she ends up receiving the patronage of this disgraced lord. She also finds out more about her own heritage, as well as this political issue with this neighboring kingdom. And this book just has a lot of awesome elements to it. There's a found family aspect that I absolutely enjoyed, a slow burn romance that I loved. That slow burn romance was so good, guys. There's all these characters that I adored. There's just so many aspects to this book that I really liked. One aspect that I did really enjoy was the fact that this book didn't really focus on the chosen one. In this case, I would say Brianna was definitely more of a side character, in the sense that she is just one out of many people trying to figure out how to reinstate the rightful queen. And of course, the rightful queen would be the chosen one in this case, but of course this book really focused on Brianna, and I really enjoyed that. It was definitely a unique take on things. But the best part of this book, guys, and the part that I loved the most, was definitely the slow burn romance. It was done so well, guys. Like, I loved everything about it. There's also this slight teacher-student relationship, but to be honest though, like, that didn't really bother me, but I can definitely see that being bothersome to some people, so I do want to point that out very quickly. But regardless though, like, that romance was done so well. Like, I want to pick up the sequel, mostly because of the romance, to be honest. I just want to find out more about it. I want to immerse myself a little bit more about this romance and find out where it goes, all that stuff, and it's just done so well, guys. Like, this book was so good. The found family aspect was also done really well. I really liked that element. So there are just a lot of elements to this book that I absolutely adored. If you like books with a slow burn romance, found family, great character development, some magic, a queendom, then I definitely recommend this one. And honestly, I feel like this book is very underhyped. I feel like no one really talks about it, no one really knows about it, but this book is just so good, guys. Like, I hope everyone will get a chance to read this book and just love it as much as I do. Then the next book/books that I want to discuss is the Illuminate Files series by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is a sci-fi trilogy that's set in space, and it follows 3 separate couples within each book. There's literally so many components to this series. There's a deadly plague, a murderous AI, betrayal, survival, adventure, action. There's literally everything that you ever want in a sci-fi novel found within this trilogy. And the first book, just so I can give you guys a really quick summary, follows a couple called Katie and Ezra, and something happens where their home planet is being destroyed, and now they end up escaping onto this spaceship into space to try to find help and escape, essentially. And the book just really focuses on that escape and just trying to survive in the spaceship with everything that's going on, and just all the refugees, and the fact that they don't have enough resources for everyone, etc. And it was just so good, guys. Like, there's just so many intricacies to the series that I absolutely loved. The one thing that I found so unique in the whole trilogy is how the book was written. It was comprised of letters, transcripts, interviews, text messages, audio recordings, maps, etc. Just done so well. And I also listened to this as an audiobook while reading it physically. Well, technically not physically because I had it on ebook, but it's the same thing, kind of. And so I was able to just look at the text while also listening to the narrator, because this is also a full cast narration, by the way, which was actually really cool. And that basically just meant that every character had its own voice, and it was done so well, guys. Like, this series, like, I am just astounded by how much I enjoyed it. And honestly, I actually read the first one, Illuminate, I want to say when it came out like many years ago, and I don't know what I was thinking then, but I read it physically and I gave it 3 stars. I feel like, I don't know what I was thinking, but now when I reread it, because I want to at least finish the 2 books, because a lot of people were talking about it, and I was curious to find out why I gave it 3 stars when I read it like many years ago, and I don't know what I was thinking. That was basically my conclusion to the whole situation, because I found my second reread of Illuminate as well as my first read of Gemini and Obsidian to be phenomenal. Like, it was amazing, guys. Like, I really don't know what else to say. Oh, and another part that I really liked about the series is just how strong and badass the females were. It was actually kind of funny because I feel like Katie and Hannah were basically the main characters. Like, they were the ones doing all the work sometimes, and so it was just really funny for me to see how badass they were compared to the male couple, the male counterpart, I guess, and I really like that, guys. I thought that was a really great addition. So if you're looking for a great sci-fi series, then I definitely cannot recommend this one enough. So the next book that I want to discuss and share with you guys is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. So first and foremost, I don't know why it took me so long to read a Brandon Sanderson book. I have heard about him, I've known him for a very long time, and for whatever reason I just never had the chance to pick up a book. And this is the first time I read a book from him, and I was like, what have I been missing all these years, guys? So now, for those who haven't watched my other videos, I've basically been on a quest right now to kind of obtain some of the other Brandon Sanderson books for me to actually read them, because I am really behind, guys. Like, I need to catch up and just dive into the world that he has created with the Cosmere universe, all that stuff. And this book, guys, was so good. So this is a YA sci-fi, so it doesn't actually follow in the Cosmere, but his writing, I want to say, is really good. I don't want to say it's similar, because obviously I haven't read other books yet, but from what I can tell, like, I already love his writing. Like, his writing, which I'm hoping is the same throughout his books, is perfection, guys. So anyways, this book follows a girl called Spencer who's been trying to get into flight school. However, unfortunately for her though, her father used to be a renowned pilot, but something happened years ago, and not really sure what happened, but her father is now deemed as a coward. And from that moment on, she has basically been labeled as the coward's daughter, and no one really wants her to get into flight school. However, things happen and she does end up going into flight school. And from there, she ends up learning more about the Krulls, which is basically this alien species that her planet has basically been fighting, this ongoing fight for the past like 100 years. And she finally learns the truth of what happened to her father all those years ago. So as you can guess already, this book I gave 5 stars. It was amazing. Like, I can't say that enough. My favorite part about the book was definitely the characters, as well as the dynamic between Spencer and her fellow cadets. I thought it was just done so well. There is one particular character that I absolutely adore. Like, it was literally the funniest character ever. If you have read this book, you definitely know which one I'm talking about. Definitely best character ever, guys. Like, I don't really know what to say about the character. And Spencer's relationship and dynamic between her fellow cadets was just so well portrayed. I really liked from the beginning to the end, where in the beginning they were kind of hesitant about each other. There's a little bit of mistrust, because Spencer is obviously still known as the coward's daughter, so a lot of people were hesitant about trusting her. They didn't know if they should trust the coward's daughter, etc. And then of course, as the book continued, they faced a lot of things together, and you really see that bond form between all of them, and I just love that so much. And even Spencer herself changed so much throughout the book. In the beginning, I would say she was very juvenile. She did all these things that was very extreme, I want to say, but kind of hilarious at the same time. And as the book continued, you see her mature a lot more, figure out what she really wants for herself, her friends, her family, all that stuff. And I feel like her character development was really, really well done as well. And the most surprising part was actually the mystery. I did not realize that there was going to be a mystery in this book, but there is a small mystery, and it was mostly introduced towards the latter half of this book. And so the book kind of ends on a cliffhanger. So I am so excited for book 2. I actually really hope that there was going to be an arc for it during Book Expo, but unfortunately there wasn't. So very sad about that. But you can definitely bet that I'm going to purchase that book as soon as it comes out, because I need to know what happens. Because that ending for this first book, guys, I need to know what happens next, guys. Like, it just basically introduced all of these elements that kind of gave a hint to some of the stuff that was going on in the book, but not enough for you to figure out what really happened. And I am so intrigued, guys. Like, literally so intrigued. So anyways, if you're looking for an awesome sci-fi novel with some funny ass characters, great friendships, all that stuff, then I definitely recommend this one. Then the next 2 books that I want to discuss definitely have some mixed reviews, but I enjoyed them a lot. The first one is Gilded Wolves by Roshni Chokshi. This book is about a heist set in the 1800s in Paris, and I will best describe this book as a mix between Six of Crows with the heist element, as well as Da Vinci Code with the treasure hunting elements, and of course with a dash of magic as well. Honestly, the only issue I had with this book was the fact that the first half was extremely confusing. There was a lot of world building to be done. There was a lot of introduction about the magic system, because that magic system was very complex. Like, it was all over the place. I didn't really understand it. So I was so confused in the first half of this book. It was actually to the point that I considered DNFing it. That's how confused I was, guys. But thankfully though, I had reached out onto social media and people told me to continue with it, because the second half of this book definitely redeemed itself and explained a lot of elements that was very confusing in the first half of this book. And thankfully though, I did think that the second half was done so well that I ended up giving the book 4 stars. My favorite part about this book was definitely the puzzle solving and the treasure hunting. I really liked that a lot. I thought that was so well done. I can definitely see why people didn't like that as much though, because a lot of people were comparing this to Six of Crows, which I agree because of the heist element. But in terms of everything else though, it's not similar at all. I feel like the heist element had a lot of action, a lot of adventure, but this book didn't really focus on that too much. I would say that yes, there's a lot of action, a lot of adventure, but a lot of the puzzle solving was all mental. Like, it was all stuff that you had to figure things out while you're reading it. So in that sense, it's so different from Six of Crows. So I can definitely see why some people were just really confused, why people like didn't really like it, they didn't really enjoy it, they didn't know what was going on, etc. I can definitely see that, but I grew up really enjoying things like that, so for me it worked out really well. I also really like the characters. I thought they were so endearing. In the beginning I wasn't so sure about some of them because I was like, some of their dynamic was a little bit weird, to be honest, but the second half I found them really enduring, and the way how this book ends is such a great way into a sequel. And honestly, I would say that the first book is a great build up for a sequel, because I feel like this first book just really focused on all the different elements, the world building, the way how the magic system worked, all that stuff. So I feel like once you get past the first book, the sequel will be even better. At least what I'm hoping, guys. I'm hoping the sequel will be a solid 5 stars. So anyways, I just really like this book, guys. If you like books with a lot of treasure hunting, puzzle solving aspect to it, then I think this book would definitely make more sense and you will like this book a lot more. Then the next book that I want to discuss is Wicked Saints by Emily A. Duncan. This is another book where I have definitely seen some mixed reviews, but I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4.5 stars. This book follows 3 characters. One is a girl who can somehow communicate with gods to obtain magic, a prince who doesn't know who to trust, as well as a boy with a dangerous, monstrous secret. And this book is set during a time period where these 2 countries are at war with each other, and somehow these 3 characters, their lives end up intertwining, and their main purpose right now is to stop the war and kill a king. So there are definitely 2 elements to this book that I absolutely enjoyed. The first one was definitely the dynamic between all 3 of their characters. I really liked their gradual shift from initial dislike, mistrust, and even fear to trust and something even more. And the second aspect that I absolutely adored was the slow burn romance. Like, that romance was so well done. Like, I was so shipping that couple. Like, I really want them to be together, to be honest. But anyways, that romance, guys, that slow burn romance. There's also this really unique and complex magic system that revolves around gods and the use of blood. And I feel like that's super interesting because that's the reason why the 2 countries are at war, by the way. So one country relies on magic from the gods and the other one relies on blood magic. And for whatever reason, they cannot deal with each other's magic, and so there has been this war between them for, I want to say, 100 years. And so that magic system was actually really interesting because you can see the pros and cons of both sides, and I don't know, I just thought that was really interesting and really fascinating. So if you like a book with a slow burn romance, a dark fantasy, and a complex but very fascinating magic system, then I definitely recommend this one. Like, I really want to read the sequel as soon as possible. So surprise, guys, but I want to share a 6th book because this book is everything and I want to talk about this book a little bit more, and that is Orange by Ichigo Takano. This is a manga series and it follows a girl called Naho, where 10 years later she's still living with this big regret about what happened during high school. So she somehow ends up sending back a letter 10 years into the past to her past self, telling her about this great tragedy that was going to happen to one of her classmates and how to prevent it. And this book just had a lot of great characters, great friendship, great romance. Like, I love the romance in this book. There's also a really good discussion about depression and self-guilt, which I really enjoyed as well. But yes, guys, I just want to talk about this book for a hot second because this book was just so good. I just need everyone to read the series. I want to reread them as soon as possible. Actually, I just finished them and I'm already like, I need to reread them because they're short, they're quick, like, it was really good. Like, it's very emotional as well, and honestly, like, the friendships between all these high school kids together and the romance and how she's just trying to do everything that she can to prevent this tragedy from happening, it's just so well done, guys. There's just so many elements to this book that is just precious and endearing, and it was just like so, like, it speaks to your soul, I want to say. It's how, as cheesy as that sounds, but I feel like the series just really speaks to your soul, and I just cannot recommend this book enough, guys. Like, I want everyone to read this as soon as possible. If you haven't already, like, if you have, tell me how much you love it too, because I loved it as well. But yes, guys, this is the short hot second book that I want to discuss in this video. So anyways, those are all the books that I want to discuss in this video. These are all the best books that I read during the spring, and honestly, I cannot recommend them enough to you guys. Let me know down below if you have read in the books that I mentioned in this video, if you enjoy them or not. I feel like there are 2, Wicked Saints and Gilded Wolves, that definitely have some mixed reviews, so let me know if you enjoy them or if you didn't enjoy them. I'm very curious, actually. And also let me know down below if there's any books that I mentioned in this video that now you really want to read. But as always, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe down below, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!